I imagine the push for economic growth has created a split in the everyday man and woman, which is that we've lost touch with the immaterial. Like so much of us as animals, right? And I say animals intentionally because we are animals, is the immaterial. It's the spiritual. It's the connection. It's the intangibles. And I feel like as a civilization, especially Western, to use very generally, but more specifically high income Western countries like where I am, Sydney, the coast of Australia and whatnot, we've lost touch with that. It's like we pursue economic success at the expense of our own mental health, and we clearly know that's not good for us, right? And we've all done this. Well, I mean, we haven't all, but I've personally done it. And when you create a connection with when you build relationships and when you create that spiritual connection with something, I'm not saying anything specifically. Like for me, it's like listening to someone who's, religious might say, oh no, that's not spiritual. But to me it is, right? You can't define what's spiritual for me. But in my case, it's, putting on some classical music and then just like feeling all the music, it's that intimate connection with someone. It's that conversation. It's that depth, it's the laughter, the fun, those kind of things are hard to measure. You can't hook your brain up, at least not right now, to, measure the serotonin in your brain. Even if you could do that, I don't think it'd be a good measure. So yeah, I really hear that. I think that we've lost that in Western countries.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say this because I should say, because I have an organization that measures well-being, but I really think being able to measure those things and bring them into decision making is how we can start to change the system. Because at the moment it feels a bit overwhelming. It feels like, I feel like everyone kind of knows this, that, the way we're living, that we're so busy and that we get wrapped up in our work and we don't have time for our friends. And then, it's funny because we spend so much time trying to plug the gaps that we're causing through our busy lifestyle. Well, how can I, connect back with nature? I'll pay for this one course or something, as if that will kind of fix something that's actually, we need to change our way of life. But yeah, so we get that. And it's quite overwhelming. It's like, well, how I'm kind of caught up in this big machine. So how do I change it? And I do think that through measuring well-being and bringing these things into decision making, that starts to change and shape the system, and things hopefully can kind of slow down and give us that time and that space back. It's probably a bit of it is a big journey to go on. One, it's like recognizing that we have a problem.
Yeah.
And then, you can slowly start to control it in your own world, but then there are things happening that make it really tricky, like most families both people have to be working to be able to, afford to live now. So that creates challenges, and you can't just all of a sudden, say, okay, we'll go to a single income. So yeah, I think like, I just don't want to kind of sit here and lament and go, we're in this whirlwind and we can't get off even though we want to. I think like I want to be hopeful in that and go, well, what can we do and how are we changing it? And yeah, I kind of laugh at myself because I remember when in the early days we were like, measurement, it's measurement, and I was like, oh God, how boring. But I think it's really powerful, and I'm also the first person to really think through and challenge, can we measure all that stuff? Like, and will we ever be able to do those things justice? Maybe not, but we can certainly get closer to measuring things that matter for our lives beyond economic growth, and therefore we should. And there's great examples of where doing that really is changing things at a systems level. So we recently in Australia had a visit from the FutureGenerations commissioner from the Welsh government. And this, her position, she's now the former, there's a new commissioner, but the Welsh government created this position so they have a wellbeing economy or a wellbeing framework. And they actually have that set in legislation. So how they went about developing that was massive, deep consultation of the Welsh population of what matters to them. And they landed on, I think it was 7 domains. And now when government considers policy decisions or budget allocations, they have to look at the options through the lens of these 7 domains. I hope it's 7.
That's great.
Sorry, Commissioner. And they have to, the option they pick has to be the one that maximizes those 7 domains.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. And Sophie Howe is the former FutureGenerations Commissioner from Wales. And she spoke about, that most of her job for the last few years has actually been kind of unpicking the mechanics of government and rewiring it to enable those decisions. So it's not just about getting that framework, because governments are working on that election cycle and stuff like that. But to actually be able to enforce those decisions, they're going to have to make decisions that may be unpopular, particularly with, say, big businesses or things that wield a lot of power. So they had to rewire government to be able to actually be empowered to make those decisions. And she wielded, the Future Generations Commissioner in Wales wields a lot of power. They actually can halt laws, and in her time, she put a moratorium on building any new roads in Wales. And instead, they looked at, or they created options about creating active travel, etc. So just, that change is happening, and it's amazing. And we're really lucky to have her here in Australia. And I hope the Australian government was listening.